The NFL regular season's done. This just leads to one thing. Top 10 disappointing teams this year. Now, just to let you know before we get into this, there is one playoff team that actually did make the playoffs, but the problem is they did not have the high expectation people were thinking. Let's start down this list. At number 10, I have the San Francisco 49ers. The reason why I'm doing with the Niners is because of this. The Niners were supposed to be 10-6. People relied and kept talking about their new Lord and Savior, Jimmy Garoppolo. And what happens to Jimmy Garoppolo? He tears his ACL. The team literally started 2-1, and they got their butts kicked by the Vikings. After starting 2-1, Jimmy Garoppolo tears his ACL, and the Niners' season was done. Injuries were the biggest reason why the Niners this year were terrible. The best win they had all year after Jimmy Garoppolo was against a Seattle team that's kind of rebuilding on defense, but at the same time, it's just a disappointment. If Jimmy Garoppolo got healthy, I even said it in the beginning of the season, if the Niners to me were going to go 8-8, and I still think they would have been 8-8 with Jimmy Garoppolo. And really, we look at, like I said, this year for San Francisco, injuries occurred, and that's why they start at number 10. Number 9, the Falcons. Well, the Falcons really, injuries. Same situation with the Niners, except for they had too many injuries. Not only that, fourth quarter leads that they blow, as usual. This team was supposed to be better than they were a year ago. Over the last 2 years, they were like 13-3 or 12-4, people predict. But the Falcons, because of injuries, the Falcons missed the playoffs, got embarrassed this whole year, really. Now, do I think the Falcons would have been better if they never got those huge injuries? Absolutely. Personally, I think the Falcons could have been like 10-6 or 9-7 because I felt they were a little bit going off the edge a little bit. But because of the injuries, the Falcons, well, they were a disappointment. Number 8, Tennessee Titans. Yes, I know. The Titans almost made the playoffs. But here's the deal. For the last 3 years now, 9-7, 9-7, and 9-7. Most of the time, I just feel like the Tennessee Titans could take it up a step. But yet, for the last 3 years, it's been 9-7, 9-7, 9-7. Now, I am a Mariota fan. I enjoy watching Mariota. The guy, as much as I like him, they don't let him throw a lot because this team's more of a running team. And really, they were, I think, number 1 in points allowed. But they were trying to, they brought in a lot of Patriot players. I think, 5, I believe. And their head coach was a Patriot. I think what Tennessee was trying to do was become the Patriots. But also, injuries did occur with their tight end getting injured. It was out for the year. But really, Tennessee is just one of those teams that's just going to keep going 9-7 until that moment they take the next step up. Because literally, 3 years of going 9-7. After they beat the Patriots, I said to myself, oh, dang, they could probably make some huge noises now. But sadly, they couldn't beat the Colts. They couldn't beat the Texans at the Texans, even though Mariota had a great, terrific game. The best he'll ever have in his career. They beat the Jags and all that, but they couldn't beat Indianapolis and they couldn't beat Houston at Houston. And Mariota, several times, got injured. So, it really, if he was healthy in the last game, you could make a debate about it if they will or not. But personally, I still think they wouldn't, but it would have been a much closer game. And really, Tennessee was a disappointment this year. The Washington Redskins. The reason why the Redskins are on this list because of the fact that Alex Smith got hurt. Now, many people even were saying, oh, they're going to win this division because of Alex Smith, and they look like the most completed team. And guess what happened? Alex Smith's Alex Smith hurt himself, and that's when the season of the Redskins was done. And really, the Redskins, because of that injury, really was the big reason why they are in this list. They were looking like they were going to win their division, but yet in the end, they didn't because of the fact Alex Smith got hurt, and that's why. I mean, you could also blame that Josh Norman not being like we once was with Carolina. That is a reason you could say, but not the biggest reason. That's not really the biggest reason. And it's also because the organization is a mess also. I think that's personally I think this organization of the Redskins is a mess and is a joke. And really, the Alex Smith injury was the biggest reason why. The Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings! I don't know what the heck happened to them. A team that was literally 13-3 with Case Keenum. But yeah, when you got a better thrower and Kirk Cousins, you couldn't get better. The Vikings, literally, this happens to them almost every year. Since Brett Favre, winning season, then losing. Oh, no, another losing. Another losing, okay. Oh, winning season, okay. The next year, losing season. Another losing season. Winning season. A losing season. Another winning season. A losing season. So really, that, of course, that still goes on. But yet, the Vikings should have been better. They should have been better. The defense, I think they kept all their players. But they couldn't get better with Kirk Cousins. This is why he's also overrated. So, and that's one of the reasons why the Vikings really were just a huge disappointment. Because you couldn't find ways to win with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins only has, I think 5 or 6 wins out of 30. 6 out of 30 wins. Beating a team with a winning record. How is that possible? How can you... I think that's what his record is. But how can you actually lose like that? How you're supposed to be this big saving QB. You got the contract, and yet you couldn't make this team even better. Yeah, you're going to be a disappointment. Green Bay Packers. The Packers, once again, were one of those times when people said 11-5 or 13-3. I was not one of those idiots. I personally thought they would go 9-7 because there were just some key pieces missing. But really, the Packers this year, once again, missed the playoffs. And this time, they had Aaron Rodgers the whole year. And really, that's all they have. I compare this this Packer team to the Lakers right now. When you only have, the Lakers just have LeBron James. And they need him so they can be good and beat the big boys. That's what the Packers rely on. The Packers rely on Aaron Rodgers too much. Their defense, dude, you could say Clay is a good defender, but he's getting out there. They really do not have that good of a defense. I don't even know who they have in the running back. Jimmy Graham is not like what he once was because Seattle wasted his career. All they had was Aaron Rodgers, and that's why they made this list. Because all you really had was Aaron Rodgers. The Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, I know. They're in the playoffs, but hear me out. Hear me out. Who thinks this Philadelphia team should be better than what they are right now? Personally, I was one of them. I personally had the Eagles repeating the division title. Because they brought in talent like Olivia Nada, Michael Bennett, and so much talent. To me, they have one of the most talented. They're one of the most talented teams. But when you're supposed to take that next step up, and yet you didn't, I didn't understand. And then, you got a healthy Carson Wentz back. And to me, because of that, they should have been better than what they were. To me, they should have been personally, and I'm going to be personally honest with you, this team, to me, should have been at least 11-5 because of all the talent they have around this team. And coming from a QB and Carson Wentz coming back from injury, having an MVP season, and who was number 3 in the top 100 players, they just didn't look the same. And then Nick Foles comes in. Oh my gosh, Nick Foles got them back in the playoffs. And really, you got also the Ajayi injury. The running back core just did terrible after Ajayi got hurt. So really, that could be another excuse. I mean, yes, the Eagles are in the playoffs, but come on, we gotta be real though. The Eagles should have been better than what they are now. Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers blow so many games. After beating New England, the New England game of them beating them, people may bring that up. That is true. New England did lose to. They did lose to Pittsburgh. You're right. You're 100% right. But why did the Pittsburgh Steelers not really make the playoffs? Well, one, their defense is god-awful. They're one of those teams that are talented, but yet they can't figure them out. And really, Pittsburgh, the reason why they didn't make the playoffs was because of Oakland. Another reason why is you blew a 16-point lead against the Chargers. You lose to the Broncos when you threw it at the 1. You lose because you made a tie with Cleveland. You didn't make it because of the tie of Cleveland. Those reasons are the reasons why the Steelers were such a disappointment. Personally, I thought they would go 12-4. I thought they would go 12-4 this year because of the talent. But really, Le'Veon, it was also because of Le'Veon Bell. But then you got him doing the holdout. You can't say it was also because of Le'Veon Bell. That is true. That is somewhat true. Him being gone affected this team. And really, they couldn't just find a way to win games when they had to win in the most. They had to just beat Oakland. The New Orleans game, you can say whatever you want. To me, they were not going to win that one anyway. The Raiders, they should have never lost to. The Broncos, they should have not lost to. They should have not tied with Cleveland. You should have never blown a 16-point lead against the Chargers. That's why the Steelers are here on this list, because of those things. And really, that's why they missed the playoffs. That really is. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I have no idea what happened to this team, to be quite honest with you. Blake Bortles was one of the reasons. You could say, you know what, I'm one of those people that do agree with that statement. But really, it's also because of injuries. For example, Leonard Fournette, him getting injured was really, to me, the biggest reason. Because last year, you were the number 1 running team, running with the ball because of him. Then all of a sudden, he gets injured, the team doesn't play the same, and after they also beat the Patriots, that's where people were like, this team can now beat the Patriots because of their defense. Now we know what this team is all about. And guess what happened? They fall off a cliff. Their offense couldn't get clicking, their defense somehow finished in the top 10, but yet I think they finished in the top 10, but yet they just couldn't click later on their offense. The team that literally was supposed to take the next step, went back to being a laughingstock. Do they bounce back next season? I really do not. I do not have any idea, because so far they're just gonna look like the Oakland Raiders that only had that one great year, and then the next year they just screw up everything. And so far it's looking like that. All right. The number 1 team that to me has been the biggest disappointment is the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers to me are the most disappointing team in the NFL this year. Here's why. Last year to me, they had everything. They had the quarterback, they had the decent wide receiver core, they had the defense, and really I was thinking this season they could probably win their division, because personally I didn't trust the Saints defense. I trusted Carolina because to me they were the most completed team with the most completed roster. No, I'm not saying that Cam Newton is better than Drew Brees. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they had everything. to be in the playoffs. Carolina started the season 6-2. They finished the season with 7-9. Cam Newton got hurt. Literally after the Steelers game, they became embarrassing to watch. Then the Seahawks came in their stadium and beat them when they were undefeated at home. And that was also an embarrassment. You're undefeated at home, and yet you lose like that? To a Seahawks team that people say when they were trying to rebuild when they're in the playoffs? Carolina, to me, and just didn't. It's just one of the strangest teams to understand. One year they can have like a 15-1 year. The other year they'll have a disappointment. The other they'll just come out of nowhere and make the playoffs. And then the other they'll just be a disappointment again. Or one year they'll be like 8-7-1. And guess what? Cam Newton has never had a back-to-back winning season. He never has had one. Now everyone's just saying, what about the 8-7-1 playoff team that they were? But that's not a winning record. You need to get over 8 wins to be having a winning season. But the Panthers, to me, had everything. They had good defensive players. They had a good running game. Decent amount of wide receivers. And the quarterback, who just to me is now overrated at this point. And really, the Panthers, to me, are the number one disappointing team. Well, who do you guys think who are your top 10 disappointing teams this year in the NFL? Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Subscribe me for more videos like this one. This is TGTV Tank Mode. Sign off, and well, I really don't know what to say. I'm actually speechless. I need to learn how to end intros. I guess I need to know how to end videos.